yo, drop that track. Hey, yo, listen, it's going down just like this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to I'm Just Saying with NJ. Tonight's panelists are Kristen Rawson, a believer, free thinker, mentor, entrepreneur, writer, and creative. She shares her thoughts weekly through her blog, according to Chris. It is her only desire to inspire and change the lives of others by sharing the struggles and victories of her own story. And Katrina Garrett, who loves the Lord and is married. She is the owner of I Am New, a company that helps others to become better stewards of their finances. She and her husband are also certified life coaches and have started a new mind coaching academy to train and certify those desiring to become life coaches. And our host for this evening, NJ.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of I'm Just Saying. Joining me tonight is Kristen and Katrina. We're going to get started. This month, we've been talking to the ladies. Last month, we talked to the fellas, and this month, we are talking to the ladies. And so I'm not going to waste any time because time seems to go by pretty fast. So my first question tonight is, what is the definition to you of change? I'm just saying. Any one of you can answer the question. Either one of y'all can go.
Okay. I want to cheat and pull up Google and Google change, but
I don't want you to tell me what Google says. I want you to tell me your definition of change.
What I do know is change is disruptive. Whatever your norm is, it is completely interrupted. Sometimes change is uncomfortable. It seems to be one of those things that, like, it could possibly make you miserable as it's happening, but then on the other side of it, you're like, oh God, I really needed this. You know what I mean? So it's one of the most scary and exciting things that could ever happen to you. That's what I got off the top of my head.
Just off of what Kristen said, I do feel like change is uncomfortable. And I would say it's the thing that everybody says they want to do, but don't really want to do. That's what change is, because many times we're often talking about changing, but we don't actually change.
Right.
So I was thinking, and that's because it's uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar.
Serena?
I would say change for me is making or having a desire to do something different, you know, but like you said, you got to commit to actually putting the work in to make that different, concrete or permanent.
Okay. How can you as an individual bring change to your own personal household, family, and community? I'm just saying. We're going to start with you, Katrina, first.
You go first here. Like, yeah. So I would say that I know it's cliche, but I think change, that you have to be the change you desire to see. So I think that you bring change to your home, to your family, by not just talking about it, but actually being a doer and actually changing. And I think that as you change, you reach back, you go into the community and you reach back and you pour into someone else and you tell them where you started at, to empower them to understand that they can change too.
Serena?
Well, for me, you know, I live the change every day because my background is early childhood education, and just seeing how children need that foundation, but in addition to the children needing the foundation, how their families also need support. You know, I offer through my nonprofit, Individuals Making Positive Active Change Together, a variety of programs that help the community get resources that they need to be holistically well. To me, change and being able to just make a difference and bring a change. You said something very important. You said to your own household. I always say charity starts at home. So if I'm not taking care of myself and making sure that I'm well, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and physically, then I'm not going to be able to bless my household. And so therefore, my household won't be able to bless the community. So it starts with us personally. And so I just like to try to, like she said, be the change that I want to see. I want to see people come together and be more financially empowered. I want to see people that at one point in time was ostracized in the community, be included. And I want to see people, just living the life that God desired for them.
So when you said how does change start in your household, I live alone, so it's pretty easy. No, I'm just kidding. But I like what Serena said. It starts with yourself. So for me, change with me usually looks like self-care, and self-care isn't always bubble baths and like foot massages and stuff. Self-care can be making hard decisions for yourself. Opting to not deal with things that are triggers or traumas, setting aside devotional time, quiet time. So I think that's how I start change within myself, to be able to be whole or work on my wholeness, because I feel like it's a process I'm going through every day. And from there, for me, inciting change to my community looks like transparency. So for my blog, my tagline is sharing my story, changing a life. I don't know that I'll ever have a platform that reaches millions of people. But if I can reach one person by sharing something about me and how I overcome, that's how you incite change in one person. And then they touch another person and so on and so forth. So if I want to show kindness and teach kindness, I have to be that. If I want to show struggle to strength, I have to be that. And reaching one person, they can reach their community as well. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Who is the one person or persons that brought change to your life?
The Holy Ghost. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Serena, we're going to start with you.
I would say one of the people that's brought the most change to my life was this guy named Hank Williams. I met him through this organization that I used to be a part of, and at that time, I was still, I was younger, and I wasn't as mature as I am now, and so I had a situation that came about where one of my old teachers had reconnected with me from high school, and he was doing a business. So I told him, I said, well, if I do business with you, will you do business with me? And he's like, oh yeah, girl. So I do business with him, and then he drops off the face of the earth. And I was so frustrated about it because I'm like, but you said that you were going to do this and you didn't do it. And then I call him repeatedly and he just blows me off. And so I tell the guy, Hank, what I'm experiencing, and I'm so frustrated. And he's like, well, just tell him how you feel. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to do that? And he was like, well, you ask him a question. You say, when you told me you were going to do business with me, did you really mean that, or were you just saying it to get my business? And it's like the light bulb went off, like, oh my gosh, I can say that. And he was like, you can say anything you want to say. It's just how you say it. And I've always reverted back to that moment when there's a challenging situation that I'm frustrated about and I need to express myself.
Kristen.
I was hoping you wouldn't call me next. I don't know that I can narrow it down to a person. I've had very influential people in my life for different reasons and different seasons. Mm-hmm. Some ex-boyfriends changed my life when they came and when they went. Amen. Of course, spiritual influences like my pastor, familial influences, my family. So it's hard for me to narrow it down to one person. But what I will say is when I meet someone, and if I allow them to be close, then I am definitely looking for what imprint they're supposed to make in my life. What am I supposed to glean from this time while we're together? And how am I supposed to change? I have people who I was once friends with and I'm not friends with anymore. But what I can definitely say about that time together is like, wow, I see the difference, whether it was an ex or a friend or, a teacher or anybody I encounter. It's like, okay, what am I supposed to get from this? Because I don't believe in happenstance. I believe literally everything happens for a reason, even if it's just a lesson. So it's hard for me to just choose one person. I'm just, I appreciate you, knowing you in the theater arts world and personally has definitely given me the tools to be able to step further and do things on my own as well. So, seasons and reasons, everybody kind of inspires me.
Good answer, especially about me.
Of course, right?
Katrina?
I mean, I'm pretty much with Kristen on that one. I have been blessed to have a lot of great influences in my life, both spiritually and even some that don't even believe in God, but they were impactful and they spoke to different areas of my life. So it's hard to narrow it down to just one person. I've been blessed to have intentional relationships. There are a lot of people that say, oh, I don't know good people, or I've always been done wrong. And that's just not my testimony. God has blessed me with some just wonderful friends who pour into me, spiritual older women that have poured into me over the years. My pastor has poured into me over the years. I mean, it's just my family. I really can't narrow it down to one person because I am the sum of, when they say it takes a village, I am the sum of all the connections that I've made over my life that have poured into me.
Good answer. I when I wrote the question down, I asked actually my own self that, and I didn't have I would say every person that I had an encounter with brought about a change. Like Kristen said, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, it still brought some type of change to my life. Because some of them still here, some of them gone.
Right. But I think whether people come or go, then it should allow us to have a space to say, what about me needs to grow or change?
Absolutely. Because it's not always the individual. A lot of my change occurred after the individual left my life. Because when they said it to me, I was like, what? And then it was some of the change that took place. It wasn't until years later that I realized, okay, I see what they said and what I understood it then. And at the moment, I thought that I took it as, oh, the individual was coming for me.
Right.
Or who do he think he is, or who does she think she is, talking to me like that. And then it wasn't until afterwards I was like, yeah, she was right.
But I would even say that change for me, it just wasn't the people I had relationships with, whether that be friends or somebody I was dating. I've had strangers come into my life that have had this powerful aha moment that truly changed how I see things. Like literally a homeless man one day came up to me when I was wanting to Panera Bread to get something, and I dismissed him because I was just trying to hurry up and get into the restaurant before it closed. And God said, so you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. And I turned around and I said, you know what do you want? How can I help you? And I brought him into the restaurant with me and I said, let's sit and eat together. And I've never forgotten that moment and how he poured from a place where he had nothing, but yet he poured out in that moment in a season where I will never forget that moment.
And you know what, to piggyback off of that, and then I'm gonna stop talking. I think more than just that triggered a memory for me, more than just people changing you, I think circumstances can. So quick story. I was in Food Lion one day behind the lady in line, and the Lord told me to give this lady $100. Now, I'm a secretary, okay? So I'm not rolling in the dough. God has been very gracious to me. I have not struggled one bit in this pandemic, and I bless the whole Lord. But God told me somebody had given me $100 bill, or I had just gotten it out of the bank or something. I don't know. Anyway, I had $100 and God said, give it to this lady. And I was like, you tripping, right? So I held on to it. I waited to the very last minute, and the lady left. And I was disobedient, and I immediately felt convicted because I knew I wasn't obedient. And in that moment, then my prayer was, Lord, the next time you tell me to do something, I'm not going to do the little hesitation yo-yo game. And I asked the Lord for another opportunity. And about a week later, it happened. And I just happened to have $100. But my point is, even in a circumstance with a person who never spoke to me, then I was able to take away from that, if God is asking you to give or do something, you're not pouring from a cup that doesn't have another, that can't be replenished. So that I thought about that when Katrina was talking about her situation.
Well, I agree with all of you guys. I thought we had to just pick one person. I've definitely had, I've had a lot of people in my life, like you said, that have blessed me in so many ways. And it's just particular lessons that have stood out for me that I feel have made me who I am. And everything that y'all are saying, I've had opportunities too where I'll be somewhere and God will just be like, pay for that person's stuff. And I completely identify because I went through that season of, did God really say that? Like I'm looking around like, no, I'm tripping. But I've become more mature in my faith that I know when God's voice speaks to me to listen to it. And like you say, to operate from a place of an infinite source, to know that when we say that God can do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ever ask and think, well, we can't say that and say that we believe it, but yet we're trying to hold on to a few dollars when He has everything. So yeah, I agree with everything that y'all are saying. That's point on.
I remember working, Katrina made me think about this. I was working in a store called Caldors. They don't have that here. It's in New York. It's similar to a Kmart.
Okay.
I was working in the store, and a lady got on my line. I was working as a cashier. She got on my line, and I watched her get off the short line to get on my long line. So I'm like, what would make her get on the long line? But when she got to the register, she said, I got a prophetic word for you. And she just began to give me the word of the Lord. And I started crying on the line in Caldors. I was so embarrassed, though, Katrina, that when she started, all of a sudden, I just lifted my hands like this. Because it was so much. And she was so on and so targeted. Next thing you know, you got the whole police force up in Caldors. Cops coming from everywhere up into the store. I was one of the top cashiers, so my drawer, because my lines kept moving, stayed full. So they kept a camera on me. So in the security room, all they seen me was holding my hands up. So they couldn't hear what we were saying, and then they see tears rolling down my eyes. So they thinking I'm getting robbed.
Right.
You got police, everything, everybody coming. Now I'm scared because I'm like, what's happening? We getting robbed. It was the most craziest but most memorable time in my life there, because everybody's like, are you okay? Tell it, I got the police taking me now in the back, taking her in the back, asking all kinds of questions. You can tell us the truth, But the more my story was, but that word was so from a complete stranger, and she just like read it all down to me, like in a matter of minutes. And like I said, for her to get off the line, to get on my long line, to tell me, she said, I couldn't walk out this store not telling you what the word of the Lord was for your life. So I'm just saying.
Amen.
So during COVID-19, this COVID-19 has been words cannot describe how it's been. And so my question to you ladies is, what has changed for you during and still changing because of this COVID-19? Anyone, you could go first.
Okay. Prior to the pandemic, my life was very busy. It felt like I was out of the house every night of the week. I can't even tell you what I was doing. It was important, but it was important, but I want to say it wasn't meaningful because I don't even remember it. It was just I was busy. This has forced me to slow down. I used to be one of those people, how you're like, girl, if I could just make it to the weekend, I literally live my life like if I could just make it to the weekend, if I could just make it to spring break, if I can just make it to winter break, and then I would find things to busy that time that should have been alone time. So the stay-at-home orders, number one, forced me to be at home. And I really miss that, by the way. I love being home. Beyond that, that forced me to really do a lot of introspection, be picky and choosy about the energy that I give away and that I receive. I think I love a little bit harder and care for people a little bit deeper because I've seen how life has just been a vapor, People are literally here today and gone today. And it's made me really take some hard looks at routine. I jokingly said off the air something about my job, and I'm not going to repeat it because my coworkers nosy, but it made me really say, I'll put it this way. I saw a Facebook friend post a little post on her Facebook wall the other week that said, if you died today, your job will be posted tomorrow. And that made me think about my entire life. What am I holding on to for survival or, for routine that if I disappear, it would keep going without me. And it makes me want to make meaningful choices that if I'm gone, something's impacted. You know what I mean? And I want it to positively impact me. So COVID has made me really count my blessings and count the other things too.
I would say, oh, you want to go?
Serena?
What I was gonna say, for me, COVID has really allowed me the opportunity to slow down also, but to also just get things in order. Like that has been the word for me. I'm in the process of just taking on a really big feat that God impregnated me with years ago, and I never quite understood the different visions and things that He showed me. But it's like at the end of last year, it's like things just started coming together. And so before, the pandemic, I was already working on this, but managing, a lot of stuff, like she said, being on the go and going to this meeting and that meeting, and I'm getting stuff done, but it was just taxing, all of the traveling. Now it's allowed me to have more free time because that travel time, I can go to 5 or 6 meetings in a day and I don't have to leave my house. And I love that. It's allowed me to be able to connect with the people that I need to connect with in order to fulfill this feat that God has put inside of me to change the world and to change the community and to provide more resources. So I feel, to me, COVID has been a blessing. I know that it's gotten a lot of people's attention through the deaths, and I feel that it was purposeful because God had to let us be reminded that we can't get so busy that we forget about Him. And at the blink of an eye, He'll shut it all down because He has the power to do so. So when I think about that, it makes me come to the point of being not conformed to the world, but being transformed and keeping my mind renewed and fixed on what God has told me to do. And with COVID, I've gotten a lot of blessings from it, like just being able to being a business owner. Like I've gotten grants. I received so many different financial blessings through COVID. In addition to, like I said, being able to spend more time with my family, cooking dinner every night, something that I wasn't able to do. Now I cook dinner almost every night. Spend time with my 14-year-old daughter as she's growing up. It's been a very pivotal time, even with my business, just switching a lot of stuff to online. And I like it. I really do. I really like the fact that I can get so much more done and not have to put out as much, energy moving around. So I think for me, what I'm still working through with COVID is just making sure that in the future, what can I have in place when this happens again? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is not the first time we've had a natural phenomenon. We've lived through all different kinds of things throughout the ages. So I'm just trying to think ahead. Like when this happens again, how can I be in position to do even more?
Katrina, I'm gonna just say one more thing before you say. She talked about cooking. I ain't cooking another thing.
That's what changed during the pandemic. My weight.
COVID got fat back on my back.
That's what changed. Weight.
Girl, mine
You
too.
want to let it go. It's fat back there. So go ahead, Katrina.
I think my story is a little different simply because I've always worked from home. And so for me,
y'all hiring.
for me, when COVID happened, it was the adjustment to my husband coming home. And I'm in conference calls all day, so he's coming downstairs cooking breakfast and slinging pots, and I'm like putting the phone on mute, saying, "Stop slinging all the pots." So, but I was working from home, but if I can be honest, I was becoming burnt out with all the things that I was being engaged in for ministry, for work. It was just I was getting burnt out. So when we entered into COVID, the Lord literally shifted me right in the beginning of COVID, and He was like, I need you to start, this is your water walking season. So for me, COVID was like, it's COVID and nobody's doing anything. The country's shutting down and you're telling me this is my water walking season. You're telling me this is the time you want me to step out of my comfort zone and do something different when nobody else can do anything but be at home. Like, are you sure this is what you're saying? And God's like, yeah, I'm calling you to step outside your comfort zone in a season where it appears that the whole world is shutting down and I want you to do a new thing. And so that's where I changed jobs. I got a new job during COVID, got a nice little raise. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Got a nice little raise and I'm working this job, but he's like giving me these things to work with and to work on. And he's giving me a vision to do things that I didn't even necessarily have the faith to do, if I can totally be honest. And now it's like literally he's like, okay, now I want you to do it. I want you to walk out what I've given you, what I've put in you. So for me, COVID has really refocused me to really put God first and to really walk out what He says, because life isn't promised. My mother-in-law passed, and as Kristen said, you look at things that were the unexpected, you see how short life is. It's but a vapor. And it makes me say, I don't know how much time I have here. Tomorrow really isn't promised. And I'm not speaking COVID over my life, but I want to live a life that's well lived, that when I go to the Lord, He says, well done, my good and faithful servant. So for me, it's about fulfilling whatever the purpose is that God has put on my life and walking it out in faith.
See, this is why she needs to go first, because then I think of things I want to say to piggyback.
Go ahead.
You talked about, about being burnt out in life transitions. It is no secret that after 10 years of working in ministry, I resigned. That was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. Like, second to decide if I want to get married or not. And my last Sunday was the first Sunday we were virtual. And I didn't really know how to feel about that. Okay, God, the world is shutting down and I'm walking away from something. And now I can't even have people close, to kind of mourn. I think I wanted to go mourn, go to the grave and just sit there and cry and people pat my back. And as soon as I wanted to do that, God was like, okay, well, girl, go ahead and get up. There's no one here to mourn with you because I have something new for you to do. And here I was in a pandemic, stepping into completely new waters, moving and working in a different area of ministry, developing gifts I didn't know. Y'all, I do video editing and graphic design now. You know what I'm saying? But it's stuff that it started with a necessity, and God was able to show me that I can use more than one thing in you, but you have to be willing to try something new in a hard time. So Katrina's right. God is blessing. I didn't get a new job. but I've moved. I've my finances are probably better than they've ever been. I'm in a completely different situation. I've learned new things. So either way, it's not all bad. I think that's the common denominator between all three of us that we've shared. It has not been all bad. And I have truly enjoyed the time that I can be at home. So I would like to work from home as well. Amen.
And I can see through COVID how all things really do work together.
Yes.
Like the
Yes.
timing things and what takes place. All things really do work together for the fullness of those who love the Lord. But sometimes when we're in the midst of something, it's hard to see it. But when he starts to connect those dots and you look back, you're like, wow, God, this is what you were doing. This
Right.
is where
Yeah.
you were positioning me.
I'm going to turn my camera off.
Absolutely. I think for me, even with COVID-19, the strangest thing happened for me. Kristen could attest to this. I don't never cancel a show, and I don't cancel rehearsals. It could be snowing outside. They'd be like, "Yep, we still have a rehearsal. Yep, we still have a rehearsal." I don't cancel shows, and I don't cancel rehearsal. But right before COVID-19, I canceled our show that we were supposed to do. I canceled the show, and I went through my whole calendar, and I just started canceling all my events because the Lord had told me to. And I had no real reason to cancel them, but just by what he said. And I didn't even give the cast an explanation. I just told them that we was going to cancel the show. We do it at the end of the year. And this is what we're going to do. And a few of them called me because they know that I don't cancel. The first thing they just was like, "Are you okay?" I guess got to be something wrong with her if she's canceling a show. And I didn't have any answers because I just knew what God was saying. And I didn't know why he was saying it. And then it was so crazy because I was sitting at desk and I was sitting at my desk. I was still at work and I was sitting at my desk and I started crying because he said, when I canceled everything at my desk, when I was supposed to have been working, he said, now there's room for me.
Wow.
And I started crying. And I went to church on that Wednesday night and my pastor preached, "Make room for me." And he told the church to go home and listen to that song. And when I got in the car, I listened to the song and I cried all the way home. And I was like, God, I'm canceling all of these events, and this is what's supposed to subsidize my income. Now what I'm going to do? Not knowing what he had in plan and what he had in store. And he said to me, "I'm going to give you more. You're going to work less, and I'm going to give you more."
Listen, what's your cash app? I told you, we're going to have to go ahead and get off the air. We take I'm just saying.
And I was like, what in the world? And if it wasn't for COVID-19 shutting my plans down,
right,
we wouldn't be doing this show today because I actually put this show together 2 years ago and never had time to produce it. And it wasn't until COVID-19 and I was having a moment one day and Ray called me and was like, "NJ, I ain't heard from you since this whole COVID-19. You need to, whatever you in, get out of it." And I was like, "Ray, but I can't do no shows. We can't do no plays." And I started giving him all of my excuses. And he said, "What about your show that you told me about? Here's the perfect time."
Yep.
And I was stuck because I didn't have nothing else to say. I was just like, but who gonna be the host? Because when I wrote it, I was writing it for me to be the producer, not be the host of the show. I was like, no, I like being behind the camera. I don't want to come in front of the camera. That's not what I do. And now here it is, months later. And all the opportunities I never would have believed that has opened up for me during this COVID-19. I was just like, okay, I can't write plays, so then what am I supposed to do? And the Lord reminded me too of my name. It's called NJ Productions. He said, "You produce." I never called you a playwright. I called you a producer. And I was limited myself to just plays. And he had other plans and other opportunities waiting for me. And so I'm just like overwhelmed, overexcited about what he's got going on in my life through this COVID-19. Oh, I got some good news. I didn't even tell anybody. I'm getting ready to come out with my own children's diamond line called Carrot Kids. Look for our grand opening in January.
Right.
NJ with the diamonds, bling bling. Yes, so one of my friends is a diamond distributor, and they made me an offer during this COVID-19 to do a kids line under their line. So I'll be having my own line called Carrot Kids.
Praise God.
Yeah. So I am super, super excited
Love
about it. So much going on. But I'm just saying, let's get back to my questions.
Right. It's became testimony service.
Yes, this is testimony. We have a church. We gonna testify. We need 5 minutes. We gonna get some music in our head. Everybody's just gonna bust out and do a dance. So my question is, which is our topic for today, is if you could change one chapter in your life, what chapter would you change and why? I'm just saying.
I would say for me, I wouldn't change any of them because they were all necessary. You know, every high place, every low place, and everything in between, they were all necessary for where God was building me up to go. And I just feel, confident and in my spirit. Like I had this conversation with myself. I'm going to be honest, I do talk to myself, and yes, I do answer too. So whatever. Okay. But I was sitting and thinking, like, I got this really big thing in front of me, God, and you told me and you showed me, and I don't have, what it is, self-talk. And as I'm about to engage these thoughts that I normally wouldn't engage, it was like another part of me, I'm going to say it was the Holy Spirit, grabbed me and pulled me forward and was like, you don't have time to engage that. You've already made the decision to completely trust and believe in God. So with that being said, every chapter, everything has been molding me for this moment in life. And like she said earlier, it's funny that you said that, Katrina, about God said step out, because that's what he told me. Like before this year even started, the threshold of 2020, I had the most life-changing experience where I got stuck in the mud in an unfamiliar place, and it was dark, and I'm trying to get to church and I'm blowing my horn and flash my lights. Nobody will stop and help me. And finally, this one man, he stops to help me, right? And he has a towing strap in his car. Like, who drives around with a towing strap? He hooks me up. He pulls me right out. Now, here's the thing, guys. On his license plate, guess what it said? Real God. And on his bumper sticker, it says, I worship and I serve. And he pulled me out. I go on my way. And as I'm driving back, God tells me, he said, I had to bring you in this unfamiliar place to have you stuck in the mud, to tell you tonight that you weren't just stuck in the mud, you're stuck in your mind, because you say that you trust me, but you truly not trust me, because I've showed you things that I want you to do and you're not completely stepping out and doing it. So I want you to go in 2020 being bold. And if I say jump, just start jumping. If people look at you like you're crazy, don't worry about it. You just go ahead and you start jumping, and you believe that I'm going to bring into fruition everything I put in you. And so all of those things building up into now, it's like I see it so clearly, crystal clear. Like stuff, like you said, when you was going through it, it's uncomfortable. But growing is always uncomfortable until you get to where you want to be, and then it's worth it.
Amen.
Come on, Katrina.
Oh, if I could change a chapter of my life, first of all, I agree with everything Serena said. That's just that was like, I'm like, yep, I want to testify and hold my hand up. If I could, but I do go back to this one moment. While all of the things that have happened in my life, I feel have worked together. If I could change one thing, it would go back to when I was younger. And it sounds so cheesy, but I saw things differently when I was younger.
Absolutely.
And when I saw things differently, a lot of times when I was in the classroom, if I raised my hand to ask a question, the people would say, "Oh, she has a question," and it made me feel like I didn't have a voice, or it was bad to see things differently. So I spent a lot of my life trying to conform to how other people saw things because I was made to feel that what I saw was wrong. And so it confused me growing up in life because I would see things differently and no one else could see what I saw. But I didn't realize that that was the gift that God gave me to see things differently because He wanted me to be different. So I spent a lot of years trying to conform and fit in to what people thought I should be, or people thought how a person should be my age, where I was in life, as opposed to truly being different. And my mom, she wanted me to embrace being different, but because we looked at being different as a bad thing, it's like we want to be like everybody else. We want to be a part of something or feel like we belong to something. And I think that as I've gotten older, God's showing me that your difference is what made you, is how I made you to be. I never made you to be like anyone else. I always wanted you to be your authentic self. And so I think for me, it's like, had I gone back and just truly embraced being different and been okay with it, I wonder how far I would have made it in life in this season. But all things work together. That's my thought.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to
Amen.
preface
And
by
just before the
amen.
next person goes, I just want to say something really quick.
Yes.
We can't change until we're ready. And at that particular time, it just wasn't.
Okay. Kristen?
Okay. So I'm going to piggyback that I do believe Romans 8:28 wholeheartedly. I live by, I am the manifestation of all things working together for good. We don't have time for me to tell you about the last 12 years of my life, but I'll say I've buried a mother, I've buried a husband, I've been homeless, I've had cars repossessed, I've had friends, I've lost friends, I have had highs and lows. So I am the manifestation of all things work together for good. But I am transparent enough to admit that sometimes I struggle with regret. So if I could go back to any moment, it would probably be high school, right around when I was graduating. Two particular things. Number one, I have always been good at too many things. And that's not to brag. Like, God has allowed me to be multifaceted. So there were many things I wanted to do. And I couldn't figure out one because everybody said, you got to pick one. So I remember saying to my mom, I don't want to go to college right away. I need like a year. I'm going to work. I promise I'm going to work. I just want to figure it out. And she was one of those old schools like, you go on to school. And so, that started the path of me just trying things that didn't work. Number two, I got married when I was 19. And truthfully, if I could go back and undo it, I would, because I feel like I missed the period where I should have been figuring out where I wanted to be. And it thrust me so far into adulthood that even after my marriage ended, I was in survival mode at that point. You get up, you go to work, you pay bills, you pay off debt, sometimes as I look at classmates, I'm 32, by the way. When I look at classmates who have degrees and working in career fields, they have children, they're married, they own homes and things like that, it makes me say, well, what if I could have rewound the clock 14, 15 years and made different choices? How would my life look today? Now, like I said, I know that all things work together. So I now am more than a conqueror. And anything that I have, I know I've worked for, either I've worked for or really God has just been really gracious. So I appreciate things a whole lot more, but I'd be lying to you if I said I don't want to change anything. That would be like a bold-faced lie. Sometimes I wish I could go back. And I can relate to Katrina, being a little kid and seeing things differently. I remember being different and trying to dumb down to blend in. And I have spent my life doing that. And the devil's a whole lot. I just don't fit, y'all. I got blonde hair with red lips. I don't fit in, and it's okay. It's okay. Well, blonde weave.
That was a good thing when you talked about a childhood, and we've been talking about the Bible this whole conversation, how God always compares us to a child, and our faith level was just so. We didn't have to try to believe. It was just like automatic. Mm-hmm. Like there was I don't even know words to describe what it was, but we just
But
believed
they
it was so easy. It was just so easy for us to believe. And and it didn't necessarily have to be the things of God. It's just that we believed anything. Like we believed if I was up on the stairs and jumping, like we used to do dumb stuff like jumping off the top of the high steps. Like we believed that we not go forward, we could do this, and we run and go back and doing just dumb stuff.
I
But
didn't.
we didn't think about. I didn't think about consequences. I just believed that if I did it and I put my mind to it, I could do it. Now, as an adult, I find myself sometimes questioning, can I do this? Is it gonna work? What's gonna happen? I'm always thinking about, okay, but the plan B and C and D. Where before I didn't think about that. When I tell everybody, um, my first entrepreneur job when I was just about 9 years old at my house, my mother used to always say, when you get a job, when you get a job. So I decided to make my own job. And what we did was we charged kids 25 cents to come in my house, and we would put them in a sleeping bag and put a bunch of covers inside the sleeping bag, and then put you inside the sleeping bag, zip up the sleeping bag, and then push the sleeping bag down the stairs. And we called it a roller coaster.
Okay. That's that New York stuff.
And we would push you down the stairs, and you'd be like, blah, 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 blah. But all the kids loved it. And I would make a whole lot of quarters doing the roller coaster. And I remember one day my mother came home early, and we had all the kids from the neighborhood in the house. And she was cussing us all out. The kids, us, and everybody. Then she had the nerve to take all my quarters for laundry. I was so mad at her. I was like, God, this is of the devil. That's stealing. I work for these. I felt like I worked for those quarters. And she gonna use them to wash clothes, not knowing. But her point was, Nisha, somebody could have broke their neck. Somebody could have got hurt. All the things that could have happened with us putting kids in the sleeping bag and pushing them down the stairs. And we getting in the sleeping bag, going down the stairs ourselves. But we wasn't thinking. What my point is, we didn't think about it. We just did all kind of crazy stuff. And we didn't think about consequences. And I think that if we as an adults can get that same, not think about it, just do it when it comes to what God is saying and the things of God, we would be in a whole better place. So
if I could restate mine, it would be to not seek the validation, not be so consumed by the validation of man of what God has already approved.
Right. Because we do get worried about what other people are going to say and what they're going to think.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially what they're going to think.
Mm-hmm.
What is people going to say about? What are people going to think about?
You know what? So I innately, believe it or not, am a people pleaser. I don't know if it came from watching my mother. My mother was a wonderful, powerful woman, but she was a peacekeeper. So that meant sometimes she kept her mouth shut to keep peace. And I don't know if that's what I do, but anyway, innately, sometimes I can be a people pleaser. So when I have to step out and do something new, then it matters to me what people think. And in this 2020, honey, I block people. I mute people's tweets and texts. I don't have to wait for your opinion. I don't have to. If that means my life has to be completely private and I'm doing what I got to do, me and Jesus, that's what I'm going to do, because we can't seek like Katrina said, stop seeking validation for things that God has already put an approval stamp on. It's just, they don't have as my daddy would say, they ain't got a heaven or a hell to put you in. So that's that on that.
Well, ladies, we got about 10 more minutes before our time. But I want you to tell us a little bit about you, what you got going on, and where can you find you on social media. So we're gonna start with the credit doctor first.
Okay, well, as I said, I'm an early childhood professional. I'm also a financial educator, community advocate. I'm the founder of Individuals Making Positive Active Change Together, a local 501c3, where we connect the community with resources to be holistically successful. Right now, we're in the process of bringing a new innovation lab to the community and meeting the needs of positive expression and positive interactions amongst the generations. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, The Credit Doctor of VA, or Heavenly Hearts Daycare. Either one, you can call us at 1-844-2-UP FICO, 1-844-287-3426. You can also reach out to us via email at Heavenly Hearts Family Learning Place at gmail.com or the Credit Doctor of VA at gmail.com.
Katrina.
I have my husband and I. We have a business entitled New Mind Coaching Academy. It is to certify life coaches. So anybody that's interested in becoming certified as a life coach, my husband and I teach the courses, and we do them online. So you can inbox me on Facebook, Katrina Walker-Garrett, and or you can hit up my business page on Facebook, which is I Am New LLC. And I Am New is basically a business that just talks about the mindset of our spending and just trying to get people to become better stewards over their finances so that they can be in position to receive whatever it is that God wants to release into their lives. And my new thing that I'm working on so many other things, but the one thing that I can share is two of my friends and I, we are about to start um, a channel called Cardio Conversations, where we will be working out for 30 minutes and we will be doing cardio, but having healthy conversations about life. So to encourage people to get out and move. And while we're moving, having meaningful conversations, cardio conversations. So be on the lookout for that.
Shoot, I need that today.
Yes, I was to say, we need to work it out. Did I just tell you COVID got fat back?
Listen, this is why we're doing it. Listen, I said I better be skinny at the end of these cardio conversations. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I've been eating cake and cookies and apple pie and ice cream.
Oh no, you eating sweets. I eat food. Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Kristen?
Well, I'm gonna start off by tooting Katrina's horn. She is a guru with the finances. I have personally had Katrina do budgets for me. Here I am spending my time talking about you, girl. No, truly, what she offers is amazing. So if you are someone who, it's not even that your life has got to be off track, you just want a little help in the financial area with your mindset, she's great. Go to her. Amen. All right. I do have a blog called According to Chris. And hypothetically, I post every Thursday. We're going to get back on track. That is a place where I share transparently what the Lord allows me to share about my life. So that is something that you can follow. You can follow me on Instagram at Miss Chrissy Diane, as you see it on the screen. You can follow me on Twitter, Miss Chrissy Diane, as you see it on the screen. I am opinionated. So if you do not like opinions, don't follow me. And that's that on that. But you can follow me if you like to chit and chat. In addition, as I mentioned, I do video editing. So if you are in need of video editing or any graphic design work, then you can either DM me on one of those sources or you can email me, KristenRowson@gmail.com. That's that.
Okay, so ladies, before we leave, what's something you want to leave with those that are watching and that will watch?
Go ahead.
For me, I'll say when I first stepped outside of my comfort zone, which I equate to stepping out of the boat, I began to talk to the Lord and say, Lord, please don't let me sink now that I've left my place of comfort. Don't let me sink. And God said, it was my foundation. I lit it as a foundation. He was like, that's where you're wrong. That was never your source. He says, I am. And so as you walk out of your comfort zone to try to change and do something new, make sure you focus on God during that process, because there'll be a part of you that wants to turn back. But if you look at God as being the source of what you stand in need of, you'll know He'll never lead you out of something that He's not going to continue to lead you into something else. That's even better.
Amen. Okay. I would say with relation to change, my personal experience has always been that I've gone kicking and screaming. And typically what God has to do is pull the rug from underneath me, which is so extra. I mean, just be obedient, dear God. What I would say, if there is someone who's kind of at a crossroads, it really isn't even a crossroads, because if you are feeling the nudge, hearing this, you already know that God is pulling you to do something new, or be somewhere new, or be something new. Just do it. The fight for me was worse, because I kept saying, Lord, give me a sign. Lord, are you sure? What you gonna do if I say no? Just be obedient, and you will find on the other side of obedience, there is favor, there is peace, there's provision. God never, ever pulls you from something without making sure that you'll be okay. So don't be afraid to step out. Whether you're stepping out of a boat, stepping out of a job, stepping out of whatever, just be obedient. It'll be okay. You're going to be okay.
Serena?
I think for me, what I would leave everyone that's going to watch this with is just know that you don't have to have it all together
Amen.
to take action.
Yes.
I think a lot of times people want to have this perfect plan in front of you in order to move, but that's not how it is. Like, even when God was leading the children of Israel out of captivity, he led them by a cloud, and sometimes that cloud was invisible. So even when we don't see what we think is supposed to be leading us, we still got to keep moving, and we still got to keep trusting. I always say moves don't make themselves. You want something different, you got to do something different. You got to step out of what you normally would, and you got to get on Take Action Boulevard, And so I would just encourage anyone that watches this to know, don't wait to have it all figured out to get started. Just get started. Take one step and just trust that as you develop and as you grow and as you get closer to where you're supposed to be, the pieces will start to come together.
Absolutely.
Well, that's our time, ladies. I really enjoyed y'all. Again, I'd like to thank y'all for joining me on tonight. Those of you who are watching, I'm asking you to continue to watch me every Saturday live at 5 on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. Those of you that's watching, I want you to please subscribe to my new YouTube channel. But that's our show for today. And again, I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all watching, and see us again on next Saturday.
Hi, I'm Tiffany, the productions coordinator for the new hit show, I'm Just Sayin. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. If you're interested in becoming a panelist for the show, please contact myself, Tiffany Buckley, or Shannon Hutchinson, and email us at njproductionsinc@gmail.com, and one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm Just Sayin.